Good morning, and thank you for being here. I was here yesterday for former chairman of the SEC, Gary Gensler, Professor Gary Gensler's talk, and he described his talk as the warm-up talk for Roberto's talk. So you're in for a treat. I'm here from the beloved class of '76, so we're celebrating, believe it or not, a 50th reunion. And so I'm very, very pleased to introduce our guest, Professor Roberto Rigobon. He's a Society of Sloan Fellows, Professor of Applied Economics at MIT Sloan, and he's a leader in understanding how we measure economic, social, and ethical reality. He studies financial contagion and economic networks. He's a founding member of the Billion Prices Project, which has redefined how inflation is measured worldwide. He's co-founder of the Aggregate Confusion Project. Only Professor Rigobon would have a name of a project like that. Focused on improving ESG metrics. He's a 5-time Teacher of the Year, and he's been shaping minds at MIT Sloan since 1997. Today, he's going to explore the future of human work in the age of AI with Sloan MIT postdoc Isabella Loaiza. She was a SM 19, PhD 23. He's developed a framework to identify the human capabilities that will remain essential no matter how advanced AI becomes and how society can prepare for what comes next. So please join me in welcoming Professor Roberto Rigobon.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First, it's great to see all of you, especially on a cold day in the morning. Probably reminds you of my classes in the spring. I just want to say that this talk today it has a sponsor, so I just want to transmit the message that the sponsor has for you, okay? I just want to welcome all of you to this beautiful meeting, okay, where we're going to have a description of all my inventions and how they are going to actually substitute all the crap that you do at work. I just don't want to say they are my inventions, but you know, because I'm very generous, but truly they were mine. I'm going to write about 2 books about that. But then at the end of the day, I just want to say to you how you are all going to die without a single job for the rest of your life. If by any chance you were planning to retire, this is the time. So, I am just waiting for someone to be late so they can bring me my coffee, but everyone here is on time, so we will see what happens. This rhetoric about jobs being lost has been kind of the conversation in the United States for a while. It was it has exacerbated with AI, but has been the talk. Oh my God, you are late. Simone, that's so good. Yeah, that is so surprising. Welcome. Please do not interrupt the talk whatsoever. I love it. They have learned nothing. Is that okay? This rhetoric that we are going to lose our jobs actually started with data analytics for a while. So what I want to do is to have a conversation with you a little bit about our research. So in 2017, Alessia, your seat is here. Yes. Yes, Alessia from no, that's not the row, it's this one. Is that okay? Yeah, but don't worry, you're not interrupting the talk at all. It's so good to see you. Alessia had a time in her life that she was a punk, and she shaved all her hair exactly like a Sidney O'Connor, okay? I have the pictures in case you're wondering. What I want to do is to have a conversation, because in 2017, I thought that we were asking the wrong question. We were asking the question of what the computer is going to do that we do today, like what they are going to substitute. That question is almost like asking
I am really concerned that the calculator is going to substitute my ability to add and subtract. Please raise your hand if you know how to add and subtract. Please raise your hand. Okay, good. How many of you will ever add and subtract if I give you a list of 10 numbers or 4 digits? Will you use the phone? Yeah. Are you concerned that you're losing the ability? Like your task is so important. Do you work in finance, Matthew? No. In what do you do for work? Tech. Do you use any addition and subtraction? Oh my God, you're losing your job! Like, that's what you hear. Like, give me a break. The question is not what the computer is going to substitute. I think the question should be what the computer cannot substitute. What are we worth? That's a different question. It's a completely different approach. So in 2017, I started thinking a little bit about thinking this question differently. So I started talking as a statistician. I am a bad statistician. That's why I teach economics. But I started thinking about, as a statistician, what are the things that these computers cannot do, what the essence of machine learning cannot do. So when you look at the way the brain is organized and the way the neural networks are constructed, in the architecture, they're identical. That's why we kind of think that they can do the same. Because the brain is a bunch of cables that come from the sensors, okay? They all join a neuron. That neuron takes all that input, adds, subtracts, and computes a 1-0 signal that comes to the next neuron, and so on, and so on, and so on. That's exactly how the neural network is constructed. So we tend to think that because they have the same architecture, the two machineries should do the same things. But that's not how we work. By the way, I have spent, I said 2017, I have spent all these years, 9 years, and I have studied neuroscience, psychology, sociology, anthropology, and my question has always been, what makes the brain different from the AI? So what I want to do is to give a thorough analysis of those 9 years of learning in the next 30 seconds, okay? Yeah, that's the way the MBAs like it, no? Yeah. Oh, I really want to learn all the fundamentals. No, I don't. Is that okay? Don't worry. No, I will not be such a bastard. I will actually be faster. But truly, so I'm going to put what is interesting in this journey is that I have realized that the reasons that the statisticians use for the differences, that the neuroscientists use for the differences, for what the psychologists use for differences, sociologists and anthropologists, they all share the same things. It's interesting. So the first aspect is that the brain does not optimize. We control. That's the first point. The AI is used for optimization. We actually are terrible at optimization. What we do is we control. And when we're doing a control, what we do, we set a set of boundaries. And therefore, we said we're going to do acceptable outcomes between those boundaries. So that's the way, for example, we develop a relationship. So between Simone and I, for example, we have a relationship, which is he always is late for class. Okay, and I know that. I know what to expect. And therefore, in that relationship, we have certain boundaries that I give him some leeway, which is 10 minutes, and he was within 10 minutes, so it's perfectly reasonable. Is that okay? So, but within those boundaries, what we do is we kind of control. And therefore, when I have a relationship with a friend, I know what to expect. With my wife, I am the husband. With my kids, I am dad. It really doesn't matter that I tell my kids that I am super cool. And my dad's thinking, you are a loser dad. And I said, but my jokes are really good. And they said, no, it's just dad jokes. That's what only your class and your students allow, because they also are dads. So, like, exactly. You see, this joke will be a loser joke. It will bomb if I were talking to undergrads. So the point is, can we know in a relationship? So therefore, every time you say something, it comes with a context. Okay? And that allows us and the brain and our relationships to evolve in a very different manner than when you are optimizing. So there are many differences. So you will have the slides, but I just want to highlight the parallels. Is that okay? So the first one is that we are really good at working on small data. And the reason is that we trust. In that relationship, we trust. So, what occurs is that when a mentor tells you something, if you think that the something is like a data point, if you think that the sentence is a data point and advice, I don't need a lot of observations to trust. I need one sentence. I need one data point. When a parent tells something to their kids, especially at the beginning of their life, one data point is enough. One sentence is enough. By the way, when they become teenagers, they want more evidence, so they become obnoxious. Is that okay? And we have to change our relationship. And this is costly because the boundaries need to shift. And everyone that is a parent knows how difficult it is for us to shift. It's easier for our kids than it is for us. It takes a while for us to change. By the way, a lot of the anxiety that is taking place today in the United States is because our relationship with our governments, this is true not only in the United States, but everywhere in the world. Our relationship with our governments is changing those boundaries. Governments are doing things that we thought it was unthinkable 10 or 20 years ago. And suddenly, this becomes a possibility. So it's completely irrelevant if they do it or not. It's absolutely inconsequential. If they do it, then it's bad. But if they don't do it, they still produce anxiety because these boundaries are being tested. So we work in small data environments relatively well because we trust, but we make millions of mistakes. We do extrapolation differently. An AI machine, when they do extrapolations, an AI and machine learning language, that function is incredibly chaotic. When you actually try to extrapolate, you produce terrible, terrible things. The farther you are from the data, the more crazy they become. We don't do that in general because we have these boundaries. Another thing that neuroscientist tells me is that apparently I'm thinking about death all the time. And I said, I am not. I never think about death. And they go, yes, of course you think about death all the time. I said, no. I said, I bet you are thinking about death right now. I said, yes, idiot. but it's so interesting because actually we have a sense of finality in all the decisions. If you have a relationship and you mistreat that relationship, we tend to believe that that damage is permanent. And therefore, those boundaries in our case are extremely important. We only have one life. We don't have a reset button. So I remember explaining this to a computer scientist. I said, this is equivalent to the following. I tell ChatGPT or Claude, said, I am going to ask you a question. If by any chance you answer the question once incorrectly, we go to the server and we burn the chips. Not reset, we burn the chips. And then I tell the programmer, program now the answer. Do you think that ChatGPT will be fast in answering your questions now? See, that's the difference between having a boundary and having no boundaries. Having no filter makes you someone like ChatGPT or a macro professor at MIT. Multiple justifiable outcomes is something that is super interesting. Is that this is called a moral dilemma. The way we will call this is a moral dilemma. Is that there are two answers that are valid for the same problem. How do we decide? We don't flip a coin. We don't have a rule. For example, if there's a person that loses control on their car and is going to actually run over an individual, this is called the trolley game in moral philosophy. Well, if you do whatever you take, try to avoid the person, but you actually run over the person, I mean, this is murder, okay? But we actually go through a process of analyzing if the decision-making of the individual was morally correct. We don't have a rule. We don't have a rule about how we kill people in the streets. We don't. We don't flip the coin either. How are we going to do this? Like ugly-looking faculty professors kill first. Okay, I understand. That might be good for humankind and species. But we do not, under no circumstances, we have rules. By the way, the only place we have a rule is that it's a rule that is super old, which is in boats, women and children first. Which, by the way, is super insulting for my wife. And my daughters, they say, Dad, we are better swimmers than you. In fact, you should go first. And I tell, no, I have a reputation to protect. I prefer to die before ruining my reputation. But it's so interesting because we don't have rules. Isn't that amazing? In fact, actually, we don't count people that are killed. We don't count. We are not utilitarian. Oh, I committed this accident, and I killed 3 old people, which is better than 1 young one. I mean, we don't do that accounting. We don't. So, operating in these areas of judgment, the human has a different approach. And by the way, we create institutions to make that approach to be understandable. Relational outcomes, as I said already, and I hope it's clear, we develop relationships. This is much better here in life, I'm telling you. This talk will have the exact same jokes, but in Zoom, it's not that funny. It is not. Plus, I will not be able to tease Alessia that was late. And the last one, which I love, and in fact, it took me a while to understand the neuroscientists, but it's such a beautifully simple concept, is that our brain decides what data to collect. Because our brain controls our eyes, our ears, our attention, our sleeping or not, checking on the iPhone, taking pictures. I mean, you understand that all your actions are controlled by the same entity that is going to use that data. So we are terribly biased. Terribly, terribly biased. If you actually have a bias against a person, you just don't want to listen. Is that okay? Which is what happens to all of us when we look at the news that are not coincide with our political views. So for the Republicans, they cannot watch MSNBC, and for the Democrats, they cannot watch Fox. And therefore, we cannot listen to each other. And the first 3 words are enough for us to disconnect, which actually I think is a mistake, because they might have something to say, whatever that they are. But so we're terribly biased. This thing like let the data speak for itself, not a single human being will believe that that is correct. In fact, let me ask you, well, let's do 2 thought experiments. Like an extraterrestrial entity comes to here to the United States, and they check our conversations on the internet. And now they have to decide if we are a species worth keeping, or we should just be killed because we're miserably insulting bastards. If the only information they have is our internet interactions, because there are 7 insults for every compliment in the internet, they will say, man, these people just hate each other. They will be better off if I just kill all of them. And if your kids go to the internet, don't you ever say, do not believe everything that you read? Why will you ever say something so stupid? Let the data speak for itself, my brothers. Like would you ever do that? Juan, you have how many kids? 3. You let them check the web all the time, totally free? No, not now, and they're 25. Look at that. They're all in college, and he doesn't allow them even. But the whole point is, we know. And by the way, the best decisions of humankind have not been supported by the data. Actually, they deny the data. If I take the history of humankind, since the very first moment we became a species, all the way, and I stop in the year 1000, and I take all that data, thousands of years of experience, every single observation from every single human being, and I ask an AI, please build the best, the most successful society you can think of. The first thing they're going to do is to say, well, you have to go and beat up as many towns as you can. When you beat them up, enslave as many people as you can, and don't ever give a vote to a woman. What data point was used by the first person that decided not to have a slave? What evidence supported that decision? I want to be a data-driven organization. No, not always. It was a person that decided to add something to the data. to add an attribute called justice. And that instant, you made thousands of years of history useless. Equity, and we gave the vote to women. Justice, dignity. These are things that we added to the data. We didn't have any idea if this was going to work out or not. But we thought that if we want to build a society, it was required. So we do things differently. We don't use these things universally for goodness. Is that okay? In a second, I want to translate these to words that we operationalize. But we started by looking at this. These are the names. On the right, I put the names on the neuroscientists. Their names are terrible. They need a marketing class, I'm telling you. Enactive social cognition. I mean, you can translate every word separately, but when you put that together, it means absolutely nothing. Like value-driven attention. Okay? I guess that the attention is driven by values. I have no idea what it means. Okay, so, but I just wanted to kind of highlight the fact that it's so interesting that these literatures never talk to each other that much. And they were saying the same things. So the way we did this is that we said, okay, we are going to look at what are the activities that humans do that are kind of dealing with the statistical problems I just described. So we are going to actually do it differently. We're going to start from the human side. And these are many words. In fact, actually, it's a very long list of words that I have here. Is that okay? So I will, you will get the slides. You want to take a picture? Let's take a better picture. Okay, that's anyway. If you're gonna take a picture, you have to tell me. Is that okay? Okay, so but let me summarize. So I just want to say that it's actually kind of very long. So I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole paper, but what we do is we actually group these activities that we do, these characteristics that we have as humans that are related to the statistical problems that I just described. So we call this EPOCH, also because it kind of sounds cool to call the paper the epoch of AI. Is that okay? So it was actually coolness. I did take classes of marketing in my MBA. But these are things like empathy and emotional intelligence, compassion, the sense of belonging, things like presence, networking, human contact, and trust, aspects like openness, opinion, judgment, ethics, and moral compass, for example, that will be for the O. The C is about creativity, imagination, curiosity. The H is about hope, ambition, and leadership, and so on. So these are things that the computer cannot do today, and it will never be able to do. This is not about power. This is about relationships. And it is true that the computers can mimic a relationship, but a relationship is a two-way. So they can mimic what is called sympathy. They cannot mimic empathy. How many of you are foreigners? Raise your hand. Isn't that amazing? There are two types of MBAs. The ones that were born here and the ones that also got this nationality. So we are all foreigners. And we all went through the process of actually applying to a visa to the United States, dealing with the immigration. So when someone comes to you and is telling you something that is happening to them through the immigration process in the United States, he has an accent, and they realize that you have an accent, they know that you went through the same process. It's sympathy. When a woman that is pregnant feels that is being discriminated on the job and talks to another woman, typically mentor of her, that probably went through the same process, I don't have to explain. Well, that person doesn't have to explain. It would be really hard for me to fake it, no, isn't it? Yeah, I remember when I was pregnant. See, I can feel compassion, but it's very hard for me to develop empathy. We don't have a shared experience. Now, a computer is really good at what is called sympathy. A computer is extremely good at detecting the state of mind where you are. It's okay, what are you feeling? Because the computer can read 1,000 of your muscles. So they will know, are you sleepy? Are you tired? Are you happy? Are you sad? And okay, you are sad, and I also know that you like chocolate and ice cream, but you had an ice cream yesterday, so I can offer you a chocolate. That's called sympathy. Sympathy is when I am trying to resolve your problem. Empathy has nothing to do with that. Empathy is the ability to feel what the other person is feeling, or the other entity. This is incredible in humans. It's truly incredible. We read a book where we know it's a fake situation. We know it's a fictitious character. And the character is going through a struggle, and we feel equally sad. Isn't that amazing? All the romantic comedies actually have the exact same components. In the first 30 seconds, you know which two are going to end up together, don't we? All the whole. And I watch, and my wife says, they are going to get together. I said, no, not this time. No, this time, no. Something's going to happen. And then in the minute 10 before it ends, something happens. I told you so, they are not going to be together. And then when they get together, I cry like an idiot. Is that okay? I said, oh, this is so emotional, it's so surprising. My younger daughter is a psychologist, and she's also an extremely good statistician. So she has helped us a lot in this. And she has provided us a lot of definitions, because in a second I will explain. We needed many definitions of the words that I just showed you. Kind of clear definitions that could be taken to the data. And she gave me the best definition of hope that I have ever seen. Hope, according to Veronica, is a person that thinks that something will happen when the actual probability is 0. That's why we have 48 teams playing in the World Cup. You understand that a computer will never do that? How can you be so stupid? What a waste of resources! I mean, think about it. Like all these teams, all these fans, all of these people applying to our visa of our glorious country. Is that okay? And I have to let them all here? Yes, you have to let them all here. And then they are going to come to lose. What a bunch of losers. We should have a World Cup with only 8. The other ones can play in Mexico. Like, I don't know. No. So, truly, why do we play the game? It's totally inefficient. I don't know how many fans do I have of Real Madrid here? Raise your hand. Okay. Real Madrid, in the Champions, we should give the cup to the Real Madrid one every 3 years. And we just don't even play. Who cares? Why play if they're going to win every 3 years? So just, here's your cup, see you. We don't waste resources. We don't waste the emotional investment of every team. Trying to say, look, oh, this time I'm going to win. No, you're not. I mean, like, no. Like, yes, I want to win. By the way, I'm a Barcelona fan. Okay? You are a Barcelona fan. This is the first thing that you have told me something about you. You know that he was my student in 2000? And he's the only student I have had that never revealed his country of origin. Because when I asked, where are you from? He said, I am from a very bashable country. He said he was afraid I was going to bash. Now I know his country. Thanks to AI and hacking. So it is interesting because hope is what an entrepreneur uses, but hope is also what someone playing the lottery uses. Creativity is what leads to Van Gogh, Dalí, La Bohème, Traviata, but it's also what leads us to build a bomb. So we do first, judgments that are incorrect. We are not always correct on the judgment. There's something about our personal contact that is incredibly important and we don't value. For example, talk to our elderlies. According to anthropologists, the extreme power of our brain and our society comes from thousands and thousands of years ago, when at the end of the day, we sat around the fire and the elderly start telling stories about their life. At that time, 20,000 years ago, the elderly were 40-year-old people. I mean, life expectancy was 20 to 25. So if you were 40, you were a genius. You were a genius. You had something to say. And the young wanted to listen. I mean, because my life depends on what you're going to tell me. Why they all were willing to share their knowledge? We were not making payments for that. We showed them respect. We gave them appreciation. And everyone here, when you were young, you were told you need to respect the elderly. That comes from 20,000 years ago. But today, what has happened with our life expectancy is that the age of the elderly, the gap between the elders and the young has become much bigger. The ways of communication are different. And we are not talking to our granddads and our grandmothers. We are not. Not only that, in our society, the day you retire, we presume that you are useless. Let me ask you a question. When you retire at the age of 70, something like that, let's assume an age, do you think that you could inspire a high schooler to do something great? By telling them their stories. Do you think that you have something to share with the young? Would you be willing to go to a high school just to share your story, your struggles, what you did right, what you did wrong? You have so much to teach, and we presume that you are useless the day you retire. So I remember when I was reading this in the anthropology books, I was like, oh my God, it's so true. We are losing the chance to listen to our beloved, the people that has our best, our hopes and our future in their hands to make it better, and we just don't want to listen. We go to every dinner with a phone in our pockets. And we tend to believe that we will learn more from ChatGPT that has no investment, emotional or otherwise, on us than our grandparents. Man, I think we need to change the equilibrium, don't you think? So, what we did with Isabella, Isabella was a PhD here from the Media Lab. She's a computational social scientist. And she, after graduation, she came and we work in a postdoc. So she's actually finishing now. So actually now, okay? So actually, I think she's gone already. My job is to kick people out. Is that okay? That's just to let you know. So don't take it personally. I also kicked most of you out, okay? So it's kind of my goal in life. But what we did was to take all these words, in fact, actually a much longer list of words. We had several definitions of this, and we asked the question about every task. There's a database in the United States that is called Own It, and with this I finish, I open for questions. Is that okay? I want to give you as much time to ask questions. So the census has a database that is actually updated every 2 months, and we have this for more than, I think it's almost 20 years now, okay? If not more. So this database, what it has, is a description of all the tasks of a particular job. So for example, this is a physical therapist. This is a physical therapist. So it has 16 tasks according to the census on this year. The year I'm just showing you is 2014. I'm going to explain why I'm showing you 2014. This can be done in every year, but in a second I will explain. So it has something that says, monitor and record clients' progress to ensure that goals and objectives are met. Okay? And what we do is we say, well, that sentence, how much empathy it implies, how much compassion it implies, how much emotional intelligence implies, and how much curiosity implies, creativity, and so on. But it's not the word, it's the definition. Is that clear? So we take a relatively long definition of what is, empathy, and there are 20 definitions of empathy that we actually collected, and we said, how much of that sentence somehow is related to this definition. Is that clear? How much the two have similar meanings. And we actually use LLMs, specialized LLM, to actually perform that. And then we compute the score. How much EPOCH you have. How much E, how much P, how much C, and O. Now, jobs are described by this bundle of tasks. And every task has a bundle of human skills. And this is the way we define them. Is that okay? some people call this soft, and in a second I will explain that there's no chance this is soft. Is that clear? Okay, so, but we have these scores. And I just want to show you here is that a person that has physical therapy, for example, there are some tasks that need a lot of presence because it needs to teach me how to do the exercise. Okay, it needs some other tasks have a lot of motivation, okay, because I am under pain. I mean, I don't know if you have ever done physical therapies, but I hate all of them. Is that okay? Because they produce pain. It's painful. But the pain is because I need it. Is that clear? And I need to manage how much pain. So it needs to teach me. And the only way to teach me is to actually perform it with me. So there are some tasks that have a lot of P for presence. There are some other tasks that have a lot of H for vision and hope and planning and motivation, etc. So they are not all equal. A task, for us, a task will be substituted by an AI entity that has low scores on everything. Is that clear? If I have one task that has a lot of one, that will survive. So there are about 1,000 occupations. Each occupation has many tasks. There are almost 20,000 tasks every 2 months for 20 years. And we do that for the whole data set. This is 2014, January of 2014. And we organize all the occupations. I'm just showing you some. I want to highlight here at the bottom, there's one that is called tax preparers. And the other ones are meter readers. Macroeconomist is just between those two. Macroeconomics is the occupation that has the least amount of hope. Yeah, you find that funny. I don't find it funny. Is that okay? Yeah, so actually, so when I don't present that slide ever. Is that clear? But here no one is watching. But you know, Isabella loves to put the two lists. Is that okay? Says here macroeconomists. This is Robert, and he doesn't say macroeconomists. Says Roberto's occupation. Is that okay? And then she says, and here's the list of hope. Actually, this number has to be between 0 and 1, and the hope on the macroeconomists is 0.02. Is that okay? And if you ever look at any macroeconomists, we have zero empathy. I mean, talk to a central banker. I mean, they have no empathy. You said, I am suffering. Yeah, good for you. Okay, so, but what is interesting is that now when we have these jobs, we can analyze two things. With this, I finish. We can analyze, the first question is, can I dismantle the bucket of tasks? So, imagine that I have a job that has 20 tasks. 12 can be performed by AI, and the other 8 are performed by other people in the society. And they don't happen together. Is that okay? So can I actually dismantle? So we are going to call that risk, okay? I mean, we are not certain that this is going to happen. Are you with me? But what we are doing is highlighting that there is a possibility of doing it, okay? It can be done. So the question, it cannot be done now. Is that clear? I just want to also emphasize. I mean, AI right now has certain limitations like trust, veracity, and so on. But the point is, can we reach the point where this can be substituted? And then the answer is yes, because those jobs and those tasks have very little human skills, okay? So it can be done. Then there's a question, is economically viable or economically desirable to do? But we're not analyzing that. We're just analyzing the possibility of the technology to substitute. So those jobs, we call that risk. But then the second one is about augmentation. Can I make the job better? So that one requires a different approach, because that one, the question is, well, I have certain tasks that I perform, and those tasks are the core of my job, okay? And then they have other auxiliary tasks that I perform. So for example, for a talk like today, and I have to prepare the content, it's a 1-hour talk, so I probably spend like 7 minutes, okay? That's all the content, okay? Then I spend about 2 to 3 hours on the jokes, okay? And then about 16 hours on the PowerPoint presentation. I am incompetent on the PowerPoint presentation. I'm such an idiot on PowerPoint presentation that I was changing my PowerPoint today at 9:32. Is that okay? Because I am just useless. Now, if you take an AI that performs a PowerPoint presentation for me, I become more productive. I have augmented. I have found the calculator for the accountant. Interesting. So let me just show you what we find. The augmentation is measured on the Y scale. 0.3 means that 30% of the tasks that are irrelevant can be substituted. Is that clear? Just want to give you an order of magnitude. A number 0.3 means that 30% of the tasks that are not the core, is that okay? Divide the tasks. I have 20, assume that actually 5 are my core tasks and I have 15 that are not. Well, 30% of those 15 can be substituted. And therefore, this implies a gain of productivity. I cannot compute that gain of productivity because I only have the descriptions. I don't know the time that the person devotes. Is that okay? This example that I told you, I'm telling you the time. But I know they devote some time because otherwise it will not be constituted part of the data. So if you devote no time, the census will not report that you are doing the task. So 0.3 is a relatively large number. A number of 0.5 means that I'm going to simplify the life of that person by 50% of their tasks that they do. So the size of the bubble is the number of people in that occupation in the United States. This actually shows 1,000 occupations. They are all in the private sector. The reason why we don't have the data for the public sector is because the public sector has risk scores that are negative. We have no idea. And augmentation scores that, I mean, like 0, but they cannot be eliminated. Is that clear? Okay, so they are on this left axis here. Okay, but what is interesting is that look how few jobs are on the very risky situation. These are jobs that cannot be improved by AI, and in somehow they are going to be dismantled. This is about 5 million jobs from a labor force of 160 million. So it's not trivial, it's not a small number, but it's not 35%. It's 5%, it's 7%. And by the way, this is, if we implement the technology tomorrow on every single job, is that clear? So there will be a loss of jobs, very small. But I want you to pay attention to the possibilities. This technology is going to change our life. You know what? These also have changed our life. Every job is affected. What this is telling you is that every job will be affected, every single job. Well, except one. This job here, I don't know if you see this dot here. This is someone that we will like to kill, but we can't. These are CFOs. This here. We hate CFOs, don't we? In fact, even the CFOs hate themselves. It's just like... But every job will be affected. I mean, we did not find a single job that was going to be unaffected by the technology. But that's not the point. You see, I don't care about the tasks that are going to be substituted if they are irrelevant. So we think that we have a tremendous chance of having an incredible technology that is going to improve humankind. And therefore, what we have to do is to think about how to implement it. By the way, the person that comes to talk after me, actually, in MIT, the people that are thinking about this, Kate Kellogg, Erin Kelly, so the people, I think Erin Kelly is the next speaker. Is that correct? Yes, no? Yeah, okay. So she's the one that is thinking about how to implement. I mostly think about destruction of the world. It's so much fun. But she's actually thinking about how to make it better. I don't know what her talk is, but she's the example that we have here at Sloan, in which people are thinking both not only of the technology, the implementation, and also how to do the management. So let me tell you, I think that this technology is going to be extraordinary, has a tremendous amount of possibilities. I don't think we're going to lose that many jobs. I mean, our fear, I think, is based on thinking that we don't have a good way to implement the technology, and I think that that's an incorrect approach to life. This is almost thinking like we produce toilet paper. We don't produce toilet paper. I mean, let me just be precise. I think that the production of toilet paper in the world is mostly fixed. I mean, we might have more diarrhea, but it's kind of fixed. Is that okay? So if I give you a technology that improves the production of toilet paper, what is going to happen is that that firm is going to use less inputs because your demand is kind of fixed. So I understand that AI will force toilet paper producers to use less inputs, to have less waste. Yes, so less workers, less pulp, and so on. But this technology is going to change services. Services. We have very few technologies that have ever had that impact. What about call centers? Don't you think that when we call to a call center, we could have a better experience? You know that call centers have a measurement, which is what is the acceptable level of pain. They actually measure that. And I said, am I in the statistic? Because mine is infinity. Every time I call there, I just think about the Second Amendment. So, it's like, you understand that we will have chance to make healthcare services more personalized, faster, better deployed, with more information that actually track your behavior when you are dealing with a disease. We could actually do so much better. So the room for improvement on the revenue side, to me, is incredibly high. Make sure that we use this time not to reduce the personnel because we do not produce toilet paper. Let's use it to actually improve the services, our engagement with the clients, and so on. And like I'm telling you, we're going to produce more welfare than ever imagined. Okay? Thank you so much. Everybody knows that I love a selfie, so here he goes. Hands up! Okay, good. Good. Tell me, questions. Anybody has a question? Yes. On the back.
Hi. What do you think of the question of human versus AI kill switch?
About the what?
Human versus AI kill switch.
Well, I think that, so very interesting. I think that the Europeans are very concerned about ethical issues and criminal and cybersecurity. So we are obsessed about jobs. The Europeans are obsessed about the safety of this technology. And the kill switch is a way to reset. I don't think that that's enough. Truly, it's not enough. What we have to do is to have a layer that separates judgment calls that we leave them to humans from the machines. So the machines are not the ones that actually make the decisions. Now, that doesn't mean that you should not use the information from the AI in your board. So everyone that you are in a C-suite, that you are on the board, please use AI to be one additional voice. Don't we talk about diversity? You know, this is a heartless, super hyper-rational agent included in your decision making. You might be surprised. Actually, they may have something important to say. But what we need to do is to understand that they serve a purpose. And the purpose that they are serving does not include to make the ultimate decision. So I will not need the kill switch. Yes? Oh, sorry. This way. Yeah, sorry.
So I have a question about, I think the analysis is relatively static in that I think you do talk about the fundamental capabilities of humans which will never get replaced or mimicked with AI. But at a practical level, sympathy versus empathy was a good example. As these AI frontiers could keep moving, even though they are jagged, as I'm sure you've heard about the jagged frontiers, what do you think happens to these curves in terms of purely mimicking, maybe not fundamentally replicating what humans do, and what impact it would have economically in decisions that companies make?
You know, I was totally unprepared for this conversation. That's why I told him that if he says that, I was going to give him $10 as a question. Totally unprepared. I am totally unprepared for this question, but thank you so much. Yeah, that was good. Corruption is always good. Yeah. You don't want to get like a tough question. No. Oh, now you're returning. Yes, it's even better. Actually, got it for free. But actually, one of the amazing things, let me just show you what we did. Yeah, you always prepare. Always. So, I want you to see so we are actually working on this. So when we did this in 2014 is because we decided, okay, can I predict what has happened to the jobs with our stuff between 2015 and 2024? And in fact, what we do is that from the 7.5 million jobs that were created in the United States in those 10 years, from the 8.5 million jobs that were created, 7.5 million were created in occupations that are very high on EPOCH. Second, is the EPOCH component of the task changing through time? Yes, it is. Third, very important, the graph in the middle, the job postings. What are the companies asking today? What are the attributes of the workers? They are not asking for Python. They are not asking for Excel. They are asking for,
Can you develop a relationship? Do you have any leadership class?
do you remember the leadership classes here? Is that you hold hands, give me your hand, in the class, yes, and we see Kumbaya together. Is that okay? And they're asking people to have more Kumbaya in their lives. And it's actually, you see, what is kind of interesting is that this transformation is already taking place. We already want the workers that we're going to hire on the posting. These are job postings. It's like the slope is just incredibly strict. The more EPOCH we have, the higher the likelihood the person will be hired. So the point is that the EPOCH and the questions that the firms are asking are different. So now we're actually getting the data on all the job postings for since 2008. We don't have 20 years, but since 2008. And what we're going to do is to look at the same position in the past. And we have done with a couple, just as a pilot and proof of concept, that were analysts. Is that okay? And so business analyst in 2008, business analyst in 2016, and business analyst in 2024. And you know what? What is highlighted in the job posting is evolving through time. And it's evolving through asking more human skills. So I do think that this is, yes, those bubbles change, and those bubbles change across countries, for sure. But the only country that we have been able to analyze thoroughly is the United States and Spain. But in Spain, the data is super proprietary, so we cannot share, but we are actually going to do it. I mean, this is not going to stop me. I mean, legality has never stopped me from doing things. Yes, it's somebody else, yes.
So good to see you, sir. I would refer to your morning's post about Don Quixote, where you talked about how to have this never said give up attitude, especially in these changing times. How do we bring it back and circle back to your EPOCH framework?
Oh, wow. So the Don Quixote posting that I did this morning was in response to a question that I had in a lunch yesterday. So I have no thought about Don Quixote and EPOCH. No, I don't have I don't have an answer. I do think that we can implement things badly. That is true. So if we decide as a society that we're going to use AI to substitute workers, guess what? We are going to substitute them. And we're going to create value for the firms that substitute and misery for the ones that are being left out. So we can implement things incorrectly. As I said before, EPOCH has not been universally well used in every circumstance. And in fact, posterization was badly implemented first. Vaccines could be badly implemented. You can have governments fighting implementation of vaccines and so on. So it's not like we actually get the management correct. That's why every solution to the world has the two pieces, has the technology part and has the management part. So we need to do both correctly. I think that AI, we are working on getting the technology correct. We are not there yet. Well, I mean, not even close. But I love the Chinese approach to life here. They recognize, they said, well, yeah, the technology sucks, but can you do something good with it? By the way, anyone has been in Terminal B in LaGuardia? Raise your hand. Have you seen the screen on the trash cans? No, you see. But you see, I have been told in high school that I was such trash that, that I always stand next to the trash in the airports, okay? But this was, I am in LaGuardia, Terminal B, the American Airlines, and there's a set of trash cans there, and I look that they have the typical recycling thing, and my immediate reaction is, this is so stupid, people recycle terribly. Like, this is such a useless thing to do. Is pretend that you're recycling when you are not recycling. So I was getting upset. And they have a humongous screen in front of it with a little happy face moving from one place to the other. I said, like, what a use of the technology and energy. Is that okay? Like, this is just. Then suddenly a gentleman, like Juan, comes and he's going to throw something in the incorrect bin. And suddenly the screen that was light blue turns into super bright red, okay? That you could see all the way at 200 miles, is that okay? Easily. So the guy just shocks, and there's an arrow that says, here. And the guy does exactly what you're doing. The guy laughs like crazy. So he was bringing like 8 different garbage things. So he started taking them apart and puts this thing and then the arrow, no? And then the guy starts playing. He puts it in the wrong one, said, no. Then put it, and then green, and like, without noise, just visually. And by the way, what an amazing change on the behavior of everybody. Everybody started throwing their trash. I called my daughter and I said, like, have you seen this? And my daughter, Dad, go and buy whatever thing and just throw it out and tape yourself for classes. And he said, and throw it in the wrong place. Okay, she's a scientist, so you always don't care about the consequences of what you do. So, so my older daughter says, Dad, just throw it, and let's see what happens. Does it change color to purple? Does a robot comes and hits you? I mean, like, what is going to happen after that? Which, of course, I didn't do. Because that technology is appealing to one human characteristic, regret and shame. We will not even think about it. That's why we go to Frankfurt, where you don't have to pass through a gate to get to a metro, and we still buy the metro ticket. This is unthinkable. I say, like, there's not enough Latinos here. I mean, we will just bankrupt that train. Is that clear? And in fact, I was there. So I was there. In fact, I was coming down. I was a junior faculty here. I'm just coming down to the train, and I arrived to the train. I said, where are the gates? I was coming from Paris, I remember. In Paris, the metro has gates that are this height, 2 black things that is like the horizontal, instead of the horizontal guillotine, is the vertical guillotine. Is that okay? That if you try to get in, it chops the person. So you only, is that true or not? You can confirm. No? You're so exactly. It's just beautiful. It reflects exactly what happened. Yeah, you want to sneak, you bastard, chop it. Is that okay? And this is not like 3 strikes you're out. That actually chops you 3 times. Is that okay? So it is so incredible because I am there and I said, should I buy the ticket? Or should I just join? And then I look at all the Germans. And I said, holy crap, I should buy the ticket. No. So I go back. I said, should I buy both tickets to go into the ECB and then back? So I don't have to do this line twice. Should I buy it once? I try to sneak it on the second time. I bought 2 tickets, no? So I get my 2 tickets. I get there and I'm regretting, like, why am I so stupid? I'm buying 2 tickets. I spend the whole day thinking about the damn ticket. Is that okay? I could not concentrate. And my first DA job at the ECB was completely useless. I was just thinking about the ticket. But we use our culture as a way to educate. And we can use AI to change our culture. We can use the AI so people know in a meeting how many times you have interrupted a woman versus interrupting a man. Because I imagine the women here have never been interrupted, no? But you understand that sometimes the person that is doing it doesn't notice. Might not be on purpose, might be just systemic. But by just highlighting the statistic, I'm telling you, people will just shut up. Next question.
That's a terrific place to stop, unfortunately.
Oh,
We're
good place
out
to
of
start.
time.
So thank you so much for everything.